I had a friend of mine a few years ago, and he and I were at a church meeting together, and we sat down, and he was telling me about his business. He was running part-time. And he said, yeah, I have this business that I do. And I said, oh yeah, okay, because a lot of people tell me that. And I'm like, okay, well, so tell me about it. He said, well, here's what I do. I go and buy baseball cards in bulk. And then I go on eBay and I put each one of the individual packs on eBay for people to bid on. And then whoever gets the winning bid, maybe it's $5, maybe it's $8, whatever it is, every night I sit down and I open up each individual pack of cards live on a live stream, and I show the person what it is that they got in their pack of cards. And then I put it in an envelope and I send it out to them. And I said, really? I said, that's a thing that people do? He's like, yeah, man, sometimes they get some really great cards. Like sometimes they get a $500 card or a $1,000 card. And he said, for people who can't afford to buy a full case or 2 or 3 cases of cards, they can afford $8 or $10 or $50 to have a chance to win one of these really great high value cards. And it's kind of a fun experience for them. And I said, okay. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, but how, I mean, really, how much money can you make selling baseball cards by the pack? And I said, so how's the business doing, right? I'm just trying to understand the business better, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way this is a good business. And he says, well, I made $60,000 last year. And he said, my biggest problem right now is I don't have the time to devote to doing more because I have to work. He worked at UPS as one, not a driver, but a guy who loaded the trucks up. And I said, well, hang on a minute. I said, how much do you make at UPS? He said, I make about $65,000 a year. I said, well, how much could you make with the card business if you did that full time? And he goes, oh man, I bet I could make over 100 grand a year. And I said, well, then quit your job immediately. Like, what are you doing? Don't, if you love doing the card thing and working at UPS is a drudgery, which I'm not saying working at UPS is, I'm sure it's a fine place to work. Why would you do that? And it was like a light bulb went on in his head, and he goes, well, I never thought about it like that. Like a week later, he quit his job. A year after that, he was doing $150,000 a year. I haven't talked to him in a while. I can only assume it's gone up from there. I can only assume that as he's built out his business and his empire, that he's hired some high school kids to help him with boxing this stuff up and getting it sent out so he could double, triple, quadruple his business. My point is this. If he'd asked 100 people, hey, I'm thinking about starting this baseball card thing where I go online and open up individual packs and I let people bid on the individual packs of cards, 99 out of 100 people would have told him he was crazy. But he did it anyway. He took a passion and he turned it into a business. Now, in the last video, we learned a new definition for wealth and what I think is a much more applicable definition for wealth, success, happiness than anything that you might have heard before. And so, as I look at the traditional understanding of wealth, the money you have, the investments you have, I think that we do ourselves a disservice if we think of it purely from a financial standpoint. If you didn't hear that video or watch it, you can probably click on the little button up here. I'll put a little card up there so you can hit the button and go watch that video. But in the video, we talked about how we achieve greater wealth in our life. And I said the very first thing that you need to do is constantly be acquiring rare and specialized skill. And I want to go one level deeper today and talk to you a little bit about that. What is the rare and specialized skill that I'm talking about? Well, if you're watching this video when it first comes out, I'm going to give you some options, but the really crazy thing about unique and rare specialized skills is that they're constantly changing. And if you are not constantly improving, constantly learning and expanding your skill set, then you will eventually be left behind. I'm reminded of the C+ and the early JavaScript coders in America when the internet was new. You know, those guys could make a fortune. Now they've been commoditized and they'll ship all that JavaScript stuff overseas to lower income folks who are trying to move into a first world status. And so you can't ever rest on your laurels. You can't ever lean back and do nothing, right? We have to constantly be improving. So today, what are some of the rarest and most specialized skills that are going to give you the most bang for your buck long term? Well, I'll give you a few of them. First one is any type of coding. Coding is a skill that everybody needs. I actually don't know how to code. It's one of the things I wish I had learned to do a long time ago. Now I have people who do that for me, so I don't have to, but it would have saved me a lot of money in the beginning if I had simply just decided that I was going to learn that skill. Instead, I focused on things like video production and audio production, which is something I still use today. I'm recording this on my own camera with all of my own equipment. The lighting that you see here, I set all of this up because that was something that I learned to do very early on. And even though I actually have someone who handles all the post-production editing for me right now, I still have the ability to come in anytime I want to, sit down and record something like this with you, and then be able to get it out to the world quickly. And that is a skill that, it's a skill that you have to learn. You have to train yourself how to do it. And so those are two really important ones. Another huge one I think that is going to be valuable for the next 20 or 30 years is blockchain. Whether you're talking about the development of cryptocurrencies, smart contracts, digital autonomous organizations, if you don't know what those things are, you need to be learning about them. They are the most important thing. The biggest revolution in our entire economy is happening right now in the crypto space. The more you know about it, the more you understand it, the more you can capitalize on it. Our community, the Nomad Network, we've begun to develop that community so that one day we can turn that into a true autonomous organization. Something that lives on the blockchain, that exists in perpetuity, and where anyone and everybody can come and be a part and be a contributor and be a co-owner in that space. It's a big, bold vision. It's a grand idea that I don't know how we're actually going to do it, but I know we're going to do it. And so understanding blockchain technology and smart contracts and autonomous organizations is really, really important. Here's another great one you could learn if you're looking for skills is UX or UI design. So what am I talking about with that? Well, anytime you open up an app, open up a web page, or work with a piece of software, in order for that to be user-friendly, people have to design that user experience, and that's what a UX designer does. It's a lot of fun. I actually have a friend of mine who that's all he does. He used to be in a band professionally, and he got tired of doing that, taught himself how to code, and now he works for companies all over the United States and around the world from the comfort of his own home, just doing UX design for people. So that's another one. A great one I think is going to be huge in the next 10 years is going to be augmented reality and virtual reality. Augmented reality is where you put on the glasses and all of a sudden you see stuff popping up all around you. Facebook just announced its new metaverse that it's creating. Apple is supposed to have eyeglass out next year. Augmented reality is going to become part of our lives. And the more you know about it, the more you can engage in that space, the more money you're going to make long term. Sales, marketing, and copywriting. Okay, maybe the three greatest things that you could ever learn. It should have been at the top of my list, but I waited till the bottom because I talk about copywriting and marketing all the time, and you probably get tired of hearing me say it over and over again. But I'm going to tell you right now, the most valuable skill that you could learn ever is how to effectively communicate your value to somebody else. Because I got to tell you right now, you could be the greatest UX coder on the planet. You could be the greatest blockchain guy on the planet. You could be the greatest video editor or audio editor on the planet. And if you don't know how to tell that to people, if you don't know how to make them aware that you exist, then you're never going to have the type of success that you deserve. Now, we talk about some of those very high value skills, and I think if you don't have any skills at all, and you've been working the line for the last 20 years at the body shop or working in HR somewhere with your head down, then you may have to go and find new, more valuable skills. But before you do that, I want you to assess what skills you currently have. Because you've got to work really hard, really hard, to live on this earth 20 or 30 years and not to have acquired any skills at all. It's virtually impossible. You got to be like working the fry stand at the McDonald's, and every time they ask you if you want to be promoted, you're like, no, I don't want a promotion. I'll take a raise, but not a promotion. You got to work to not have skills at the age 30 or 35. And so I want you, before you go thinking you got to learn a brand new skill, I want you thinking a little bit about what skills do I actually have right now that could be applicable in the world today. So let's say you've had your head down as an accountant working for a firm for the last 10 years. Okay? Does that mean you got to go learn to be a UX designer? No. Because you know what? You have a talent and a skill that is applicable to a lot of different people. I spend a lot of money on accounting services every year. It would be helpful for me to know some of the things that I need to look out for, some of the changes that are happening in the industry. There's knowledge there that can be sold. Let's say you raised an autistic child, or you are raising an autistic child, or someone who has a child that has severe allergies. Okay? There is an opportunity there for you to share what's worked for you to be a support to somebody else, for you to sell your knowledge, your expertise to somebody else, and people will pay top dollar for that. Heck, even if you just started a little subscription. Let's go back to our mother with an autistic child. You're home with the child all day and it's not feasible for you to go and get a job, and so you're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to use this adversity and turn it into something positive? Let's say you just started a little subscription for $20 a month, and you created a community of other people, mothers, fathers, parents who have autistic children. And you said, hey, here's a place where we're going to come together and we're going to support each other and we're going to do resources and we're going to have get-togethers and we're going to do everything that we're going to talk to the best doctors and we're going to interview them and we're going to keep up on the latest trends. And for $20 a month, you can be part of this community with us. All you need is 50 people in that community. 50 people. That's $1,000 a month. Let that sink in for a minute. What would $1,000 do? See, it's not about necessarily creating a gigantic business, is it? It's not about creating a multi-million-dollar digital business that you now that owns you instead of you owning it. It's about, man, what would $1,000 extra in my bank account do for me? And you couple that with, and I can make that extra $1,000, I can make an extra $12,000 a year just by helping other people and supporting them with my knowledge, my skills, my resources, my experiences. See, you've got to think past your own limiting belief. You've got to think past, well, I don't have any skills, or my skills aren't valuable, or nobody would want mine. And so as you look at rare and specialized skills, before you go looking at what new skills you need to acquire, I want you to ask yourself, what skills do I already have? What passions or knowledge do I have that others would be willing to pay me for? Maybe they won't pay me thousands of dollars, but as I said before, if you get $20 a month, in our Nomad network, we have a premium membership that's $20 a month. And we have approximately 300 people who pay us for the privilege of being premium members on the network. That comes out to about $5,700 a month. That's about $68,000 a year, a little over that, I believe, if my high school math doesn't fail me. It's about $68,000 a year. It doesn't take as much as you think. It is not as complicated as you might be making it. But you have to take that step. You have to be willing to go and try and do. You got to be willing to fail. As I said before, you have to embrace discomfort. You must embrace it. It's essential to your success. And so if, however, you go through all the motions, and I've got some other tools that we'll give you, and I'm going to put together an event where I'm going to have everybody come out. We're going to work with you guys on figuring out what your real talents and gifts and passions are, and how do we then create a product or a service around that. But in the meantime, if you take a look at what you've got and you're like, Jason, I just don't think I got anything. I really don't. I know you, I've been working real hard for the last 10 or 15 years to not learn any skills that are valuable, and that's just the situation I'm in. What is there for me? Well, a couple of places I'll send you. The first one is Skillshare.com, Skillshare.com. That is a fantastic place. They have a ton of high quality trainings that you can learn on everything, like I said, from photography to video production to marketing and salesmanship. All of that stuff is in there. I've actually learned a lot of stuff on drones and how to fly, and because that's like I said, I like video and audio stuff. But that's a great place for you, and it's super cheap. I think it's like $10 a month. It can fit into anybody's budget. The other one is Udemy, and Udemy sells little mini courses, and you can go there and check it out and buy different courses on different subjects. Some of them are expensive, some of them are cheap, but they all tend to be pretty good. And so I'd give you those two resources as places to go. And then of course, if you really want to plug in and want to start on this journey, but you're just like hesitant and you want to surround yourself with a bunch of other people who are like you, who are either already on that journey or thinking about getting started, then I would like for you to come join our Nomad Network. And the Nomad Network is just a community of people, an online community of people who are all focused on controlling the source of their income through entrepreneurship and investment. And so we cover a lot in there. We talk about income mobility, we talk about how we grow, we talk about different kinds of businesses, people share resources and expertise inside the community. It's a great place for you to spend your time. And here's the best part, costs you nothing to join. Absolutely free. And so to do that, just go to my.nomadnetwork.app. I'm sure that Stephen, who handles all the editing here, will get that on the screen somewhere for you. And that's going to be it, guys. And I'm gonna come back here with more training for you, with more great, exciting stuff. As I said before, now we've gotten rare and specialized skills. What's next? We need to spend less than we make. So again, go check the YouTube channel and find the video where I talk about the new definition of wealth and how we achieve it. Next video, we'll talk a little bit about that, about how spend less than you make and why that's so important. So until next time, guys, be safe, be good. I'll talk to you then.